best thing that can happen to our country is to get as many young people as possible to participate in the politics of our country, in the leadership of our nation.
Emyeto tekuleba omugasho gw'okutera karuru wokugira obwegyesa engasha abandi bakweta civic education or sensitization terukubahika ombwire bushikire
ng'okworora hanu nk'okutwikara mu byaro byaitu abazaire hamwe n'abakulembeza abandi tibayikiriza abasigazi kukoraki twemigira mu bintu ebyo ahubwo babamanyi tukyali bato
ndakwestinga time kubanga nawe tunatulonda ne batalonda agenda kuddako.
It is on record that youth constitute 78.4% of the Ugandan population and 60% of the 78.4 are youth of voting age. So it is very critical that if young people participate in the electoral process in Uganda, would bring about change that we deserve in this country.
The population of persons with disabilities is estimated to be clocking to 16% of the Ugandan population, and the majority of these are persons, are young people with disability, meaning that they need that kind of special platform or priority in terms of participation in the political and public life at all levels.
In the electoral process, really, I can say we are not benefiting much. The system of voting to us, people with disabilities, especially the blind, is not also conducive.
People who administer the electoral processes, like the polling agents, the registrars at the voting stations, are not capable of communicating to the deaf, and at the end of it all, they find it meaningless, our youth who are deaf, to participate in the voting process and the electoral processes.
Youth participating in elections is a human right, and it is very critical. It will improve on our service delivery, because if the young people participate in these elections and have rightful leaders elected, it will give a cutting edge, and young people will be able to have the rightful leaders to represent them in various positions.
They do not only speak out on what interests them, what concerns them, and these are issues like unemployment, inadequacies in our education system, but they also get to appreciate that indeed if leaders did their part, that this country can flourish, that there is huge potential for this country.
Singa omuntu wamayi osoma afuna omulimu nga guli sinti bino mpa gwemanyi oba payo sente naye ng'omaze okusoma kyosomedde ne bakikuwera bane interest okulonda naye neesomerera ekintu ate kwegabwe mba siina sente kubanga teri amanyi teri akola ki teri ampa biba byakweyiya.
Obwire obukusinga obwingi baba ne bagira tukyali bato ebitekerezo byaitu ne bagira kujja kukola makuru ate ojja kurora ngu obwire obukusinga obwingi n'obweta meetings, maybe meeting bayina ebintu ebakujja kubazaaho ng'okutusobola kwemigira mu bukulembezi ng'okutusobola kukoma abakulembezi baitu itwe tibatuweta nk'abasigazi.
Youth participation in the electoral process has been scanty. You know, it's not been much more of considered as something that is relevant towards the development of our democracy, because oftentimes you see young people's relevance only defined or determined when we get towards the elections, because for the last couple of elections that we've had in our country, you've seen you know, the political leadership or the political competitors only and only using young people as mobilization tool or as you know, brigade you know, soldiers to go and disorganize the other political faction or the other political wing. And you've not seen a lot of youth participation that is more active, that is more meaningful, that adds value towards the progression of our entire democracy.
And people also do not see what comes out of these elections. That is, the state of service delivery is very poor.
wenjogera kakati chairman eyankolera ebbaluwa ya P7 okunga nti ngenda kutula P7 wenjogerera yakyaliko abaana nzadde takyusiwe okukulonda
ebyokulonda nze ndaba tebikyakola amakulu
abinja b'ebembezi kuba na manifesto zaabo ebintu ebingi tubiku addressinga ebintu ebikwatire n'eminyeeto
ebyokulonda byo tebina kibiyamba nnyo naye nga muntu ye muba mwamulonda ye muba mulonze kwezimba yenga yoboolya.
People look at youth like those who are not well established to argue out issues. They are seen like criminals in elections.
Akalulu ka 2006 katuuka n'okunziza mu kyalo natuuka okugenda okwewandiisa enasana obugu ne bujja bufuluma ng'erinnya lyange teririiyo bwe bajja ne banga nti ate liriwo nali ne watisiza ku nabweru aye nga nti liri Kazungu ngenda okutuuka e Kazungu nti ate gwe olese bululu bwakubba bwe nesibatuuka ku basirikale okudduka basigala banoonya nti lese bululu.
Someone would prefer to stay in their house, for instance, instead of going to vote because they're like, what is going to happen? Is it tear gas today? Are they going to start beating people?
Singa balonda ne mutabaamu buvuyo kijja kutuleetera okunafu okukola ki okulonda naye ebyo ebyobuvuyo bireetera abamu bate okudda emabega n'agamba kati mpesitingira ki time ng'ate already birimu ki.
I think the government should come in and say, like during elections, and provide us with brailled ballot papers, such that when I'm voting, I know I can feel with my hand and I know I'm voting this person instead of having someone to go and vote for me.
We are not saying that the people with disabilities or young people with disabilities should be in their own world, but we are believing in universality. There should be universal access to information, universal access to all opportunities, electoral opportunities. Voting papers or ballot papers should be as that accessible. They should have braille symbols that should tell me that today and that this among the other candidates I am able to identify this is Ronald I want and this is Stephen.
The Electoral Commission has not reached out more to the young people, because if you look at their election strategy, it's more of an abstract document.
I think very many women are illiterate, and if we, for instance, just write something, they may not understand.
N'obuyinza okuba n'obwongo obutegerera eggwanga ate obusize ku bwa Kiggundu si gwe nange mwennyini nange nsobola okutegerera Kiggundu n'ate Kiggundu ye yeefudde ategerera ennyo eggwanga bw'omugamba nti kino kifu nti ekyo kyabadde kituufu 100% tugeze okulonda kweruweeru wakadibwamu mirundi ena naye ng'obuvuyo buvaawo.
Obwebembezi abantu bingi abakulu tubakwikiriza mu bantu bato kugira ngu community eine enteekateeka yaabo ingashi abandi bakweta attitude aha minyeeto eyintakwikirizamu nk'omuntu nyowe ko kurugayo bagira ngu ashiye omwana muto nooza kukora ki habwe kino oyiza kwesimba mwine position zanyu mu youth wiza wesimba LC3 ogwo mwanya tugwawe bwine bakama bago.
Their capacity is still limited, and to me I really feel as a leader that young people need empowerment. We have young people down there who have not had civic engagement, civic education. They don't know the role they need to play in election processes.
There is indeed an information gap, a huge information gap. Many young people, for instance, don't know that when you clock, for instance, the age of 30, like all of us, the 5 youth MPs have clocked the age of 30, that you see you can no longer run for a youth member of parliament. So there is actually a vacancy now. Several vacancies in parliament come 2016.
So I think there is less information that reaches out to the young people, but even where information reaches out, it's not appealing to them. It doesn't communicate to them. And for us, we don't have any choice, because they form a huge voting block. So we need to get all of them within the voting block, so that there you can conclude that the elections were meaningful, the elections were fair, and the elections do actually reflect the will and the concerns of the young people.
Now specifically, if you look at our young people, they still need a lot of engagement. How do we engage them? Do we only give them seeds and tell them go to the farm, go and dig? Do we only need them give them money and say buy goats?
less has been done in relation to civic education. And to me, I feel if young people could be sensitized, they could be given more information in line with the leaders that are elected. And young people, I feel, would also be occupying these positions, because if they understand the purpose as to why leaders are elected, you would find that young people would be involved and they would equally participate in elections, and they would be able to even vote their own young people to go and represent them.
Young people do not really associate so much with formal spaces like being in workshops or conferences and things like that. They want things that are more creative. They want to see a lot of art. They want to see a lot of information packaged in a way that responds to their language. And I think that's where the Electoral Commission needs to focus more.
Why does the Electoral Commission wait 2 months, 3 months before the elections, and then they begin doing this voter education and the so-called civic education? Because I believe civic education is a process. It's not something you can do 2 months before elections.
If we could carry out more civic engagements, have these young people are taken through, empowering them through different programs. We can have like programs like trainings, mentorship, that will help us build their capacity.
Get them to work as poll watchers, poll administrators, get them to work in communities to encourage their fellow young people to show up and either register.
The EC also needs to have engagements with different stakeholders on whatever reforms that they are suggesting, and they need to explain their position clearly.
As it comes to issues of politics, I will encourage young people to participate in politics, be at a local level and even at national level. One, young people should understand that a member of parliament, we have always had a challenge of electing leaders who come and deceive us of the roles that they are not supposed to play.
If we work with the faith group leaders, then they can be very helpful in spreading this gospel, in spreading this message that it is possible for young people to participate in leadership, but also to transform this country.
Ojja kwesanga ngu hariho ebintu abakazi bebasobola kukola abasajja bebatasobola kukola. Hati singa tulina abakazi bengi mu parliament, oba singa tulina abakazi bengi mu bukulembeze oba bakansilers, singa hariho ebintu ebimu ebingi ebikukolebwaho ebikujja kuyamba ihanga kusinga abasajja abo. Kuba tukurora ekizibu ekindi ekitulina mu ihanga lyaitu nikyo ekya corruption. Ate turaho tulina kulwanisa corruption, tulina kuteekayo abakazi bengi mu parliament no mu bikaro ebyo, nikwo abakazi abo bayambeho kulwanisa corruption.
I implore my colleagues, fellow young people, that this nation belongs to all of us. When objective young people shun leadership, then we have a challenge, then we get wrong leaders. So let's come out. Let's move out from our comfort zones and go out there, walk the path, and make sure that we participate in leadership of our country. Then shall we be able to transform it to the most admirable levels that this country can actually reach.
It's time to take a stand. Stand up for your right. Stand up for your heart. Stand up for the future. It's time to let your voice be heard. Stand up for your country. Yeah. Stand up and make history. Come on and stand. You can be whatever you wanna be. You can do whatever you wanna do. You control your destiny and no one else. Osobola, osobola, osobola.